Replacing the current conventional financial system with one based on Islamic principles would represent a seismic shift with profound and wide-ranging consequences. Here is a detailed breakdown of the potential pluses, advantages, and minuses, disadvantages, of such a transition. Core principles of Islamic finance for context. To understand the impacts, it's crucial to know the key principles that would replace the current system. Prohibition of riba, interest, earning or paying interest is forbidden. Money is not seen as a commodity that can generate profit on its own. Asset-backed financing. All financial transactions must be linked to a real, tangible asset or service. This promotes a close link between the financial and real economies. Risk sharing. Lenders and investors must share in the profits and losses of the venture. This replaces the model of a fixed return for the lender. Prohibition of gharar, excessive uncertainty, speculation. Contracts must be clear and transparent, prohibiting excessive risk and speculative behavior like conventional derivatives trading. Ethical and social screening. Investments in industries considered harmful, e.g., alcohol, gambling, pornography, arms manufacturing, are prohibited. Pluses, advantages, of an Islamic financial system. 1. Greater financial stability and reduced systemic risk. Less leverage. The asset backing requirement inherently discourages the high levels of leverage that make conventional banks vulnerable. The 2008 financial crisis was exacerbated by complex, highly leveraged instruments detached from real assets. Reduced speculative bubbles. The prohibition of gharar would severely curtail the kind of speculative trading, e.g., in derivatives, credit default swaps, that can create asset bubbles and subsequent crashes. Natural circuit breaker. Since financiers are partners sharing risk, they have a stronger incentive to conduct thorough due diligence, leading to more prudent lending and investment. 2. Enhanced economic equity and social justice. Risk sharing protects the vulnerable. In a downturn, the loss-sharing model means the burden isn't borne solely by the borrower, who might lose their home or business. The financier also absorbs a portion of the loss, creating a more equitable distribution of pain. Discourages exploitative lending. The prohibition of riba prevents predatory lending practices and payday loans that can trap low-income individuals in cycles of debt. Promotes inclusive growth. Islamic finance principles encourage productive investment in the real economy, like infrastructure, small businesses, rather than purely financial engineering, which can lead to more job creation and broad-based growth. 3. Stronger link between financial and real economy. Productive capital. Money must be used for tangible economic activity. This prevents the financial sector from becoming a self-serving entity that is disconnected from the production of real goods and services. Support for SMEs. Modes like mudarabah, profit sharing, and musharakah, joint venture, are well suited for financing small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, that may lack collateral but have good ideas. 4. Encouragement of long-termism and ethical investing. Patient capital. The partnership model encourages longer-term investment horizons, as returns are tied to the success of a project over time, not short-term interest payments. Socially responsible orientation. The built-in ethical screens automatically align the financial system with environmental, social, and governance (ESG) goals, directing capital away from harmful industries. Minuses, disadvantages and challenges, of an Islamic financial system. 1. Implementation and transition challenges. Incredibly complex transition. Replacing the deeply entrenched global interest-based system would be a logistical and legal nightmare. All existing debt contracts, government bonds, and banking products would need to be renegotiated or restructured. Macroeconomic management difficulties. Central banks primarily use interest rates, e.g., the Fed funds rate, to control inflation and stimulate or cool the economy. Without this tool, alternative mechanisms, which are theoretically possible but largely untested at a macro scale, would need to be developed and perfected. 2. Potential for lower liquidity and efficiency. Complexity of products. Islamic financial products, like Sukuk Islamic bonds, are often more complex to structure than their conventional counterparts, potentially increasing transaction costs and legal fees. 3. Interpretative and standardization issues. Lack of uniformity. There is not always a single, universally accepted interpretation of Sharia law. Differences between scholars and jurisdictions can lead to fragmentation and a lack of standardization, hindering global integration. Sharia arbitrage. Entities might shop for the most lenient religious rulings, potentially undermining the system's spirit. 4. Economic growth and credit access concerns. Potentially slower credit growth. The risk-sharing model makes banks more cautious. This could lead to a more conservative approach to lending, potentially constricting credit, especially for higher-risk, innovative ventures. Impact on consumer credit. Mortgages and car loans become more complex, based on diminishing mushraka or ajara leases. While potentially more fair, they might be perceived as more cumbersome for the average consumer compared to a simple interest-based loan. Lower returns for risk-averse savers. In a conventional system, risk-averse individuals can earn a small but guaranteed interest in a savings account. In a pure Islamic system, their deposits would be subject to profit and loss sharing, which could result in zero or negative returns in a bad year, discouraging saving through formal channels. Conclusion: a shift in philosophy, not just mechanics. Replacing the current system with Islamic finance is less about swapping one set of products for another and more about a fundamental philosophical shift. From debt-based to equity-based, the core of the economy would shift from being driven by debt to being driven by shared investment and partnership. From creditor protection to risk sharing, the legal and financial priority would move from protecting the lender's fixed return to ensuring a fair distribution of outcomes for all parties. From value neutral to value based, the system would explicitly incorporate ethical and social goals, moving away from a model where profit is the sole objective. Overall verdict: while an Islamic financial system offers a compelling vision of greater stability, equity, and ethical alignment, the practical challenges of transitioning from the deeply embedded global system are monumental. The most likely and perhaps most beneficial outcome in the near to medium term is not a full replacement, but a greater coexistence and integration of Islamic finance principles within the conventional system, offering consumers and investors a wider, more ethical choice and encouraging conventional finance to adopt some of its more stabilizing features.